Hey guys, it's Friday, so I'm back with another Friday fix. Today I'm going to be talking all about bounce. So obviously with our wedges, what is the bounce, how does it work, when should we use it, and so on. So let's start by having a bit of a closer look at our wedges, and then hopefully we'll get a bit more of an understanding of what we're talking about. So all our wedges, as we know, have a degree of loft, which is this way. We know that. They also all have a degree of bounce. So you can see mine, I have my 60 degree wedge has 8 degree of bounce, my 54 has 10 degree of bounce. So don't think the more loft, the more bounce. It doesn't work like that. You can get sort of any combination you want. You also get different grinds, but I think we'll sort of just stick to bounce today, otherwise we could be here all day. So the bounce essentially is the angle from the lowest part. If you sit your club at a 90 degree angle, your shaft, the lowest part of the sole here to the leading edge, that angle there is your degree of bounce. And if you want to get a bit more of an understanding of what that looks like on the ground, take your clubs and put them on your kitchen bench, your tile floor, anything like that, and you'll be able to see a little gap between the leading edge and the ground. The more degree of bounce, the bigger the gap is going to be. So you can see the diagram I'll put up there, perfect representation of that. And you can see from that, if we then go on a really tight lie, it's pretty obvious which club is going to suit that better. So if we get on a really tight lie, we can't really use the bounce. Our leading edge is going to be pointing right at the middle of the ball. We'll just blade it more often than not. And it's the exact same when you get in a bunker. Normally the bounce is our best friend in a bunker, but if you get in there, there's no sand, then it's not going to be effective. So there are situations where you're going to have to opt for lower bounce and just kind of do the best you can with that. Sometimes you have to take your medicine a little bit, but in saying that, it can really help us as well. And I'm just on the fairway here, not massive amount of grass, but this is still perfect for us to use the bounce. So I'm going to stick to sort of 2 shots today around the greens. The first is going to be what I would say is more like a standard shot where we use the leading edge, and the second is going to be where we use the bounce. And really the way that it works, it's all kind of in the name. It comes down, our club will come down, bounce into the turf, the sand, whatever. This bounce will come down and come back up, carry the ball up, and we'll get that high, softer shot. So that's really the perfect situation to use the bounce. And it also can be a little bit more forgiving. If you clip a little bit of grass with the leading edge, it can dig really easily, whereas the bounce is gonna bounce through it. So that's the difference in flight. We're gonna have more of a medium flight with the leading edge. Bounce, maybe check up a little and then roll out. And the bounce is going to be higher, softer, not really go anywhere as much once it hits the green. The difference when we're playing the shot, I think the only thing you really need to know with this is shaft lean. When we play the more standard shot with the leading edge, we're going to have a little bit of shaft lean at setup, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to have that same shaft lean at impact, clip the ball, then down into the ground. Our bottom of our arc is just after the ball, and then we come through and it's a little bit more held. When we play with the bounce, we're setting up really neutral shaft. So pretty much vertical we want to feel with the shaft. And then when we come back into impact, we want to feel the same thing. We want to feel like our impact is nice and vertical with the shaft. That's going to encourage the bounce to work. Shaft lean is going to be leading edge, no shaft lean is going to be bounce. That's the key to take away from this today. So a good way to feel the bounce working, especially if you're not used to that kind of action, sometimes it feels almost wrong to start throwing our hands at it. Feel like you take some practice swings with just one hand. So we're going to use each one, but one at a time. So take some practice swings with just the right arm, like that. And I can feel that the part of the club that's hitting the ground is way back here. working and it's gonna go straight under the ball. And you can see I'm not really taking a divot, I'm just sort of touching the grass on the way through. Then go onto the left arm, some practice swings. Exact same thing, we're folding it on the way through. We're not sort of throwing our arms out or pulling in. I'm folding it up and I can feel like I'm keeping that loft on there, and that club head is really just working on the way through. So that's really it. That's the two differences in the two shots. And I'll show you now if I play the first one, the leading edge. I'm going to set up, I'll have my little bit of shaft lean, and when I come back into impact, I'll feel that same angle there. Nice medium flight, little bit of spin and then rolled out. If I go now to use the bounce, I'm going to feel vertical shaft at setup. I'll still have a little bit of my weight forward, but that shaft is going to be like that. And I'm going to feel like I'm really matching that at impact, and the club head is really working on the way through. A little bit higher, nice soft landing. So you will have to have a pretty sound technique when you start using the bounce. The reason I'm saying that, you check out my tubing video, I think the tendency is to maybe want to come back on it when we're using the bounce. We still want to be working our body properly, but the club head's going to be working through. So if you're sort of not really confident around the greens but you still want to try and use the bounce, feel like you don't have maybe much wrists, take a couple of angles out of it and you can sort of still use the bounce but have more of a simple action like that. And then if you are feeling a bit more confident, you want a bit more feel, then you can add the wrists in and get a bit more of a flow going and feel that club head really working under the ball. But that's all there is to it. That's all we need to know about bounce. Get out there, try around with different clubs, different bounces, different degrees, different lies, see how it all works. But I think this should give a little bit more versatility to your short game.